the big deal of couples having sex before marriage and living with each other before the wedding day? What would be the big deal about that? You all know the situation. Two people are dating, the relationship's going well, they communicate well with each other, they share common interests, maybe even a common faith. Why would the sexual ethic of Jesus and the teachings of the rest of Scripture expect that that couple should wait until they're officially married before they set up a house with each other and engage in sexual relations? Why? What is, Now, before I answer that question specifically, let's be sure of the statistics on this. If you take Christians and non-Christians, and you talk about couples who are in a serious relationship heading toward marriage, and you statistically inquire how many of them engage in sexual relations before the wedding day, it's over 90% now. Very few people are waiting anymore, so just to be clear about the statistics. Jesus' sexual ethic of waiting or keeping sex within the context of marriage is not being taken that seriously, or maybe it is, but it's being violated on a very regular basis, like 90%, inside and outside the church. And the idea of living together, that's changed a lot in recent years. In the 70s, only 10% of unmarried people lived together before they were married. In the mid-90s, that went up to 56%. Today, it's over 70% of people who are thinking about getting married. They set up house together, and they live with each other and have sexual relationships. Over 70% before they get married. Now, is this serious? Is this problematic? It is very serious, gang. It is a distinct violation of the sexual teachings, or the sexual ethic teachings of Jesus Christ, and it goes against his example. Jesus is the one who taught that the sexual experience should be lodged solely in the safety of a committed relationship that had reached the point where both parties, the man and the woman, were ready to be married until death do us part. That's where the sexual engagement belongs, in the context of a secure relationship after the wedding vows are made public and the commitment is made for a lifelong relationship. Jesus is the smartest person who ever lived, and he said that this was the best wisdom for everybody. Now, let me speak very plainly here. For decades, I have watched young couples fall in love around our church. And I've watched them go from casual dating to serious dating to we might get married someday kind of dating. And sometimes I stop young couples and I say, it looks like this one's headed for the altar, am I right? And they go, well, I think it is. And I say, well, what will it take, if you guys get married, what will it take for you to have a till death do us part kind of relationship? What will it take for you to have a great, enduring marriage? And they'll say, well, commitment. They're asking. I say, that's right. It's going to take commitment. We all know that. A lot of commitment. And they say, well, it's going to take faithfulness. I said, well, I sure agree with that. If you betray each other and break faithfulness, that's probably a marriage breaker. That one's a tough one. And then they know, because I'm the pastor, they go, and God at the center of our relationship. And I go, yep, that's true too. God at the center of the relationship, that's really going to help too. And then I watch some of those couples move in with each other, and they set up house, and they start having sexual relationships, and I wonder if they're so sure that for a successful marriage to endure, commitment is involved. I kind of say to them, well, you're not demonstrating commitment. You're test driving. You are only committed to next month's rent. You're only committed as far as things go smooth in this relationship. You're not flexing or strengthening a commitment muscle when you're test driving. And it's going to take strong commitment muscles to make a relationship last over the long haul. You would show more commitment to each other if you would work on your relationship, not set up house, if you would work on the relationship until you set a date where you go, all right, we're going to get engaged on this date, and we're going to be committed to each other and committed to working out this relationship till it goes to the engagement point, and we're going to be committed to each other and get married, and then we're going to live out commitment. But our relationship will be a series of ever-deepening commitments. When young couples say, yeah, and it's important, faithfulness, that's going to be important for a long-term relationship. Young couples often don't understand that sexual purity before the wedding ceremony, sexual purity before marriage, actually strengthens your muscles to be able to stay sexually faithful after you're married. Talk to any married person and go, how difficult is it to stay faithful sexually in a marriage over a 30, 40, 50-year period of time? Everyone will go, you know what? It's something that you have to pay attention to. You got to work on being faithful. How do you work on being faithful if you're crossing sexual boundaries right and left before you're married? There is a direct correlation. I have all the stats if anyone would like to see it. But couples who live together before they're married are 3 times more likely to get divorced once they're married. 3 times. They haven't strengthened the loyalty, the commitment muscle. They haven't demonstrated sexual purity with each other so that they can be very trustworthy of each other on the backside. And thirdly, and I don't want to overplay this, I just want to say it as honestly as I can. If you really believe that you want God at the center of your marriage, God's got to be at the center of your courtship. And I don't know how 2 serious-minded Christians come to church together, read their Bibles together, raise their hand and sing worship songs to God when they commit sexual sin the night after church or the night before church. I don't understand how this works. Part of what you're doing when you're courting someone is you're sort of testing their commitment to Jesus Christ. Personally, I would never seriously date somebody or think of them, as a potential spouse if they weren't serious enough about their relationship with Christ to stay sexually pure before marriage. It would just be a flag in my mind going, hey, this person's kind of willing to cross that boundary. What's going to lead me to believe they're not going to cross another boundary once we're married? So I just say, and some of you are saying, man, you've become a legalistic old guy. Friends, I've felt this way my whole life. That the teachings of Jesus around relationship building, sexual ethics, and faithfulness in marriage, I believe his ways are higher than our ways, and I do believe he's the smartest person in the world, and I do believe when young couples have Christ first, and they build the commitment muscle, and they stay sexually pure, I think that's setting up the relationship optimally for a long-term, faithful, joyful marriage. Are you with me on this? I think it's a win.